Hi you guys, and welcome back. I thought we'd show you guys how to put on one of these. I don't think I've ever put one on a bus before. Again, my buses don't have them right now because I'm very nice to them when I shift gears. I probably should have one. I may end up adding it, but we're going to put it on this bucket truck. And the reason I'm putting it on this is it's a little bit different than your normal Beetle. Now on a Beetle, as you hit the gas, the transmission stress is in the front and it's going up. And what happens is, it's really important to have one of these. They're not expensive, less than $100. And when you hit the gas, your transmission stress is going this direction. Now what happens a lot of times is your mount will break. So your mount might break. And the other thing that can happen, your nose cone breaks. So the nose cone can break. And so guys go, well, I'll put a solid mount on the front. So they put a solid mount on and then they break the nose cone. So rather than do that, you got to pull the transmission, replace the whole nose cone, and you can set the hockey stick and all that. A lot of work. It's best to just go ahead and put the trans strap on as soon as you put the bigger engine in. Now on a bus, the stress is the opposite, because when you have gear reduction boxes, the transmission turns the opposite direction. So it pushes down when you step on the gas. And when you let off the gas, it's going upward. Okay. Now on this right here, because of the sheer weight of it, when I let off the gas, I hear like a lot of gear noise inside the bus or inside of it, and I didn't hear that at first. So I've gone underneath and I've flexed the mount a little bit. I can see it's flexing a little, and this is what I want to prevent happening. So as I slow down, let's say I'm going down a really big hill, okay, in the bus or in a type 2, I'm going down a really big steep hill. I let off the gas and downshift and use gears, because you really have to do that in this thing. You got to use your gears and your brakes when you're going down a steep hill. If something happened and that transmission mount broke or the nose cone broke, okay, first of all, I'd be stuck in whatever gear I'm in, okay, and I might not be able to stop, because what will happen is that thing will go up like this, and when it goes up, it pulls on the throttle cable. So that's why in your Beetle, it's really important to have a trans strap if you have a bigger engine, because if you break the mount, it can pull the transmission angle like this, and it actually pulls the throttle cable tight and opens up your throttles. And how with dual carbs or something like that, it can be pretty scary. You might not get to the ignition switch fast enough. On this thing, it also has a locking steering column. So if I twisted the key too far, I wouldn't be able to steer. A lot of problems with not having this on there. So on this thing, as a precautionary I'm going to go ahead and put this on. So on my other buses, because they go downward, okay, it's going to make it so that the throttle won't work, all right? So if I did break a nose cone or I broke a mount, it might not be as catastrophic as this is. So I'm a little nice to them. I don't shift them hard. I come on the throttle nice and slowly. And if you drive them like that, your transmission will probably last just fine. So you can put these 1904s and 1968s and 2021s in a stock trans, as long as you don't use the power and shift hard and all that stuff, and you bring it in easy. If you're bringing the power in easy, it's probably not going to break the trans, but you never know. I mean, you've got a lot more power than stock. So on this thing, we're going to experiment and see if this fits. I've never put one on a bus. It's a little different. Let's look underneath. I believe the horns are very similar, this part here, except for on the Beetle, it goes down and around here on the bottom, and but this lip here should be in about the same place, and that's where this thing locks in. It locks in on this lip, on this side and on this side, and holds, and it straps around, let's see, around this portion of the transmission. So right here around this portion where the ground cable is disconnected, where it should be connected, but it's not. I think I've got another ground on this thing, but it's not an issue. So anyway, it goes around here. It's, you know, you move your modem tube out of the way, make sure it's not on your throttle cable and all that, because that's above here. So you're gonna make sure it's not conflicting with any of those things there. And the top part of the strap goes around there, and it should perch right here on this ledge. So we'll get it out and try it, and then see where it ends up on the bus, because again, I don't know if this is taller or anything like that. I don't think it should matter. It should just go on there. They're a little bit tight to get in place. This is the only style that I will put on. If you notice, that looks like old tire material there, real nice and heavy duty, and it's riveted on. They have ones that kind of wrap around and they don't stay in place. So you put them on, I think it goes this direction if I remember right, I don't know. But if you put them on, what happens is they slide off the top of the trans, and that doesn't help. So this is the only one I use, like this. This is actually, I think, a copy of the old Bug Pack. I think when Empy and Bug Pack kind of married, or you know, whatever, I think this is when this came out. And there's another style one available that looks like the rubber was wrapped around it, and I won't use that one. It's got to be riveted, because the rubber will just fall off of this thing and then it won't hold in place. At Houston, we get a problem. This here does not fit on a bus, so that's what I'm finding out now. I don't think I've ever done it, so definitely not. The throttle cable goes through that little hole right there on these. I don't remember where it goes on the Beetle. I thought it was on the outside of it, but I don't remember. It's only been like 40 years since I messed with one of these. So anyway, so now I've got to adapt this thing here because it's down further. See how that is? And I've got to make, so I'm going to have to get some longer bolts, okay? And then make it so that, let's see. I've got to make it so that it goes down and hooks onto here somehow. So I think I'll figure that out and I'll bring you guys back in. But I definitely want to strap the tranny on this thing. It just, you know, I've told you why. I think it's kind of important. It's this thing was never meant to be driven on the roads like this, on the highways, and not down steep hills and whatever. It was just not made for that. So I think I could cut it right. I could cut it right here and then put it up in there, and then it would strap all the way around the tranny, and then all I have to do is make it so that somehow it hooks on here to pull it down, and then the rubber that's around here will keep it from vibrating. That's usually how they work, from making noise in the car. So you can feel a little bit of noise when you have these on there, but it shouldn't be noticeable in this single cab. So anyway, I'll figure that out and then we'll get back to you on that. All right, guys, here's what I did. I'll show you. I had to cut this shape. So these are angled a little bit on purpose, okay? And then this one goes flat, okay? So what I did is I had to get this wide enough. That's why I had to make it kind of angled so that I could get the bolt to bolt up here, okay? And then I cut that off far enough out and then angled it this way so that because the bar that's on there kind of goes like this at an angle, on the bottom. So I cut it that way, and then put a piece of whatever this is. This is, let's see, 2.5 inch flat bar. So yeah, 2.5 inch flat bar. So I made it 2.5 inches longer. Now, then I had to cut, so it was like this a little bit, right? It was still kind of like that. It kind of, so I had to cut this where it was out here, way up here, and then take another piece of that 2.5 inch flat bar and just angle it and then shorten it just a little, you know, take maybe an eighth off the end of it so that it would fit, so it would be flat all the way across. Same thing here. I was a little bit off on this one. And then I got this is the left side of the vehicle, right side of the vehicle, so it's going to go on that way. And then so what it's going to do is this is going to hold the center section in, and then what's really going to hold the whole thing is all this right here. With this is kind of give it a little more strength, and then when I put those on there, it should hold it. I mean, it's not the best design ever, but I don't know what else to do. We'll look at it on the vehicle and let you check it out. So if you've got a bus, this might be what you got to do. The 2.5 inch flat bar, just cut pieces of it. That's what that is, and it's 3/16. So yeah, some pretty good size steel. All right, let's put it in there and check it out. Alright, I even had some gold paint. How about that? So this one here I couldn't get lined up, but it ain't going anywhere. That sucker's hanging on there good. This one here I got the right way, but it was just a little bit off, so I just went with that. And I got a little bit of a gap here, but I'm not worried about that direction as much as I am the slowing down. I mean, as I let off the gas, the transmission goes up, and so if I'm slowing down like on a steep hill, this thing doesn't have enough power to break a mount going this way. I mean, yeah, it's got a 1800 in it, but it's so torquey it doesn't have any horsepower really. It's just got a single port, so it's not that strong. It's just enough to get down the road, but this should hold this thing in place. Thinking it's going to work, so at least it gives you some ideas. If I was going to do this again, I would have mounted this portion maybe a little bit lower. And when I put it on here, I couldn't really mark where I was going here, so if I would have put this a little bit lower, then this would have been on better. It would have been a little tighter, or if I made these a little bit longer. So things to consider if you're going to do yours. If you're trying to do it for acceleration, then you know there's a couple ideas you could do there. Just to make this part a little bit longer, and then it would go in a little bit further. I measured it; it seemed to be right, but you know, of course, you know, you measure. Every time I measure, it's gonna not fit. That's when you put it that way. And when I don't measure, I usually get it right. So go figure. Anyway, that's it for the mount. All right, guys, check it out. Seems like it's gone now. It used to be kind of noisy when you're going downhill. This thing's still super gutless. When you're going downhill, it's not that bad, but when you're going uphill, it sure is. Lift the gas, and it doesn't sound so noisy. See if I can put it downshift it once. So it doesn't, it used to go, you know, like vibrate through the whole front, through the whole cab.